You know, I'm starting to get kind of tired of all these book-based movies that have been coming down the tube lately. I mean, I understand wanting to have a successful film series based on books. That's something that Hollywood's been doing for years, even before the prevalence of Harry Potter and Twilight. But there's just some films you can tell that are really desperately trying to be the next Twilight or the next Harry Potter, where it just gets kind of tiresome. I mean, Percy Jackson trying too hard to be the next Harry Potter. This film, well, can't really say for certain, but really, if the main characters and demon hunters could look any more effeminate, you'd essentially have a Japanese visual K-band. And many of you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say that, so let's just start this episode of Romney's Reviews. This film gets off to a really strong start as it doesn't waste any time in establishing the characters and the setting, and the inciting incident happens within the first few minutes, which, well, works, because too many films nowadays tap dance around the inciting incident, so a lot of the films that have been coming out this summer have been really slow. On top of that, given that we're introduced to the characters very quickly, we get also some good bits of characterization that give us some nice, subtle insights into their personalities without grinding the film to a halt. It's just kind of quick little dialogue quips between the characters that basically tell you what kind of personalities, how they talk, and basically, it's good characterization. However, when we get to the midway point of the film, things kind of start going downhill, as we begin seeing a lot of the cliches that are layered throughout the second half, especially the forced sexual tension that leads to the very cliched but short-lived romance. On top of that, the execution of the exposition scenes was a little iffy. I mean, I give them props for actually showing as opposed to telling, but the shot and editing choices used for these expositional scenes seem kind of haphazard and shaky and really clash with the style of the rest of the film. By the end of the film, and by that I mean the actual end of the film and not the numerous fake-outs and ending points that are littered throughout the entire third act of the film, we're given so many plot twists that just come right out of left field that the whole story starts sounding like a Spanish telenovela. Now, the biggest problem with this film may have to do with the fact that it's based on a novel, because it felt really cramped. It felt like they were trying to shove in way too much information into a very short runtime. I mean, I understand wanting to be faithful to the source material, but this is a case where changes and cuts could have and probably should have been made in order to streamline the story and to alleviate that cramped feeling during the final half of the film. From a technical standpoint, the film is paced well and features some really good action scenes, and while the dialogue was a tad cheesy at times, most of the cheesiness was kept towards the latter half of the film. And really, that's where most of the problems of the film are, is in the second half of the film. I mean, it starts out strong and has a good beginning, slightly okay middle, but then it's just from the middle onward, things just get kind of worse and worse and worse. As a result, the major negative from the film is that the ending feels too long. It felt like they were trying to bounce through a lot of events in the book in such a short amount of time, which is why the ending feels both too long and also kind of cramped and crowded. Overall, while the film is far from perfect, it's not the worst book-based movie I've seen this year. The film starts out strong, but then just kind of takes a bit of a nosedive during the latter half of the film. So this is definitely a film that you're better off waiting until it's in the dollar theaters, because I can't imagine having to stomach all the out-of-nowhere and potentially squicky plot twists after paying full price. All that said, I give The Mortal Instruments City of Bones a 3.5 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Let's see what I've got coming up later this week. Oh boy. Tune in Friday for my review of One Direction, This Is Us.